So a lot of things have had to change actually, because now in today's world, 1 in 5 people are diagnosed as neurodivergent.
Wow.
And that's because the diagnostic tools have gotten so much better. And also, like, neurodivergence is a huge umbrella term that encompasses many different diagnoses, but it's so much better understood. And so I had to obviously pivot my marketing strategies towards people who have one of these diagnoses that fall under this neurodivergent umbrella. But I also had to change my own approach to my clients in that I think I've had to become a much better listener and just really have a better understanding, both through education and experience, of how a neurodivergent brain works compared to a neurotypical or a neuronormative brain, because it is different, but that's all it is different. And I want to be very clear in saying that different is not better or worse. There are benefits to a neurodivergent brain that a neurotypical one doesn't, and vice versa. And I think that's a really important message to put out there.
Welcome to the Conscious Solutions Podcast, where we highlight leaders, founders, and practitioners who are shaping the future of healing, recovery, and human transformation. This show is dedicated to the people who help the people, the innovators building clinics, nonprofits, recovery programs, wellness practices, and community-based solutions that create real impact in the world. I'm Brandon Barclay, and over the last 8 years, I've had the privilege of working alongside organizations across the alternative wellness and mental health landscape, from retreat centers and practitioners to nonprofits, recovery programs, and community-driven initiatives. And one thing has become very clear. The people doing the most meaningful work are often the ones with the least support, visibility, and resources. And this podcast is designed to change that by sharing the real stories, lessons, challenges, and breakthroughs from the leaders on the front line of human healing. Thanks for being here, and let's dive into today's conversation. You're watching, or you might be listening to the Conscious Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Barclay, and today I'm joined by Lisa Shanken, founder of Try Wellness, an integrative practice blending executive functioning coaching, somatic awareness, and holistic care. In this conversation, we'll explore Lisa's journey into integrative healing, what it takes to run a multimodal wellness practice, and how systems and structures support long-term sustainability. For those tuning in for the first time, we are Conscious Solutions. We build Foundation, a proprietary operating backbone that replaces stacked SaaS tools and turns operations into an asset your organization actually owns. If you're ready to reduce noise and build a real operational foundation, DM us the word growth. So Lisa, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to have a conversation with me, and welcome to the Conscious Solutions Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Brandon. I'm happy to be here.
Maybe start by just sharing with our listeners, where are you calling in from today?
Sure. I am based in Boulder, Colorado.
Awesome. As I think I shared previously with you, I was born in Colorado, so those mountains are near and dear to my heart.
Yes, they are pretty special.
Lisa, where does your story begin? What led you toward working with, coaching and wellness? Where did that really begin for you?
Sure. Well, it really goes back over more than 2 decades. Um, when I when I went to college, I started my own personal journey um, with healthier eating, so nutrition and fitness, and also as I was starting to live as a young adult on my own, navigating my own journey through some anxiety. And so I went to college and just started kind of talking and walking that walk for myself. And then after college, I really wanted to bring it more into my career and the world. So I did a nutrition program post college, and that led me into the world of nutrition, primarily focused on gut health, and just fitness and yoga and things that could help you to have a stronger immune system and live a healthier life. And I practiced that in a private practice setting for a number of years in New York, where I'm originally from. And then for purely lifestyle reasons, my family and I decided to relocate to Colorado. And after having practiced nutrition and fitness and yoga for about 10 years, and having the opportunity to start a whole new practice once we moved to Colorado, I just decided that I wanted something a little bit more focused on psychology, but I still wanted to use the roots that my original career was founded on in nutrition and wellness. So that led me to starting to really learn about the correlation between the health of your gut and the health of your brain, and how much the health of your gut impacts your mental health. So I started taking a number of different local psychology courses and really leaning into that relationship between the gut and the brain, and where it ended up leading me to today is what's called executive functioning coaching with a wellness spin. Always executive functioning happens in the frontal lobe of your brain. um, Clinically, it's about things like your ability to utilize your working memory, your impulse control, what's called cognitive flexibility. And the more layman definition of that really is how to utilize day-to-day skills to make your life feel more manageable and efficient. Social, everything from social skills to emotional regulation to time management and organization. So now that's what I do, is I help people who have executive functioning deficits, which tend to be people who have other mental health struggles, because executive functioning deficits is kind of wrapped into different mental health struggles, whether that's a mood disorder or a neuropsychological disorder, a personality disorder. And I help people that struggle with those types of disorders to make their day-to-day habits and lifestyle more, manageable.
All right. So, and it is a little different than yoga, right?
Yes.
What you're doing now. Um, did you have any fear as you started to see this new direction that you were going and kind of starting over? It's I understand you're pulling a lot of the skills and tools that you had learned and kind of mastered in your prior career. But did you have any fear as you were looking at like, wow, I'm kind of starting to do something different now?
Um, yes and no. Maybe there's always a little bit of an imposter syndrome when you're starting to learn something new. And yet it felt like such a natural progression, because while I might not be teaching a yoga class on a daily basis, the regulation, the emotional regulation that yoga can offer is something that I can still teach to my clients that need emotional regulation help. So it still feels like I tap into the skills I originally learned in the first part of my career.
Gotcha. And are you operating under the same like organizational umbrella, or did you
Yeah.
make a change there too?
Nope, I kept it, because before it was Try Wellness, and there were three different things. It was fitness, nutrition, and cooking, which are still all important. And now the Try Wellness piece is wrapped around, which I can tell you a little bit more later with the executive function, some programs that I've started, like, which are social, emotional regulation, and helping people become more, get back to in person communication and socialization, and So it still kind of fit under the Try Wellness name, so we kept it.
Awesome. Yeah. So it, kind of a an evolution then
Exactly.
of the identity there. How has it been? I've gone through this myself with brands and in different ways of my practice showing up. Have you had to retrain your audience at all so
Oh,
that they understand what you're
definitely.
doing?
100%. That's been somewhat organic also. Um, but rather than my audience now being people that struggle with different illnesses and want to get healthier through their gut health, now my audience tends to be much more of a neurodivergent population who struggle with executive functioning skills and want to, make those stronger.
And what have you had to change to kind of augment who your clients are or your audience is and get them to you? I would imagine that the way that you put yourself out there, I'll use the term market because I think it's one we understand. What did you have to change to your strategy, your marketing strategy, when you moved from, all right, I'm looking for people who want to learn yoga, to people who are in the executive functioning coaching, your
Neurodivergent
targeting?
audience?
Yeah, the neurodivergent audience. Thank you.
Yes, sure. So a lot of things have had to change actually, because now in today's world, 1 in 5 people are diagnosed as neurodivergent.
Wow.
And that's because the diagnostic tools have gotten so much better. And also, like, neurodivergence is a huge umbrella term that encompasses many different diagnoses, but it's so much better understood. And so I had to obviously pivot my marketing strategies towards people who have one of these diagnoses that fall under this neurodivergent umbrella. But I also had to change my own approach to my clients, in that I think I've had to become a much better listener and just really have a better understanding, both through education and experience, of how a neurodivergent brain works compared to a neurotypical or a neuronormative brain, because it is different, but that's all it is different. And I want to be very clear in saying that different is not better or worse. There are benefits to a neurodivergent brain that a neurotypical one doesn't, and vice versa. And I think that's a really important message to put out there.
Right. Yeah. We're not, like you said, it's not better or worse. It's whether are you interested in an apple or an orange? So
Right.
they're different fruits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so what does your programming look like today? What are the ways that you're able to support your clientele? How are you showing up in the world today through Tribe Wellness?
Sure. So my company has a number of different offerings. The first one being one-on-one executive functioning coaching. And that's where, similar to a psychotherapy environment, but a little bit different in that we're doing different work. We sit together in an office and we talk about um, plans and goals and things like that. However, um, the work that I do with my clients is very solution oriented, and there's a lot of accountability that is necessary to help people to reach their goals. So it's all about the implementation strategy rather than just talking through, let's say, a trauma or something. We're talking about something happening in the day-to-day life that the person wants to change. So we talk about the possible ways to change it, and then we take it a step further to say, okay, now that we've decided on the way that you want to change it, how are we going to do it? And how are we going to hold you accountable to do it? So that's what I mean by solution oriented, in that we implement different ways. And sometimes there's some trial and error to figure out what works best for that person, but we're working towards that goal and really making sure that we're creating strategies to implement and how we're implementing it to make it happen, whether that's putting it in a calendar and then sending a screenshot of something that you've accomplished, or um, creating a new sleep routine and creating a detailed outline of your night routine leading up to sleep time so that you can have more ease in falling asleep. There's a huge spectrum of different things we work on and address. So that's the one-on-one executive functioning coaching. Then we have a couple of other things. For many years now, one of probably the biggest complaint I would hear from my clients about just life in general was that they felt lonely, because sometimes socializing can be challenging for people with neurodivergence. So we started something called Social Bloom, which is a 3-month community-based program where every week for 13 consecutive weeks, a group of adults led by a coach get together and do a different community-based activity. Everything from cooking classes to going bowling to playing board games, and you name it, we've done it. We do a lot of different activities. It's been a really great program. We're now launching our first group in Denver. We're about to start our 5th group in Boulder, and so we're launching in Denver, and we have plans to hopefully bring it to other cities as well, because it's been such a successful program in helping people really make friends, which everyone wants friends. Who wouldn't want friends? And it's that repeated exposure to the same group of people for 13 weeks that doesn't make there feel like a pressure situation, or having the coach lead it there doesn't make it feel like it's hard to create small talk. And it's been great. And then another program we have is called Love Bloom, and that's a program we run it every 4 to 6 weeks, currently in Colorado, with hopefully plans to also expand. That's speed dating for neurodivergent adults. And that's been great, because that's another thing. Like, we're trying to bring back, like I was saying, that in-person experience to meet people, whether that's a romantic partner or a friend. So that's been really great. And just this week, we announced the launch of another program that'll be, for now, just in Boulder, called Breath Bloom, which will be a drop-in meditation class for neurodivergent adults.
Amazing.
Thank you.
And a really beautiful array of offerings, it sounds like.
That's what we're trying to do, just to really serve this population and, like I said, bring back the in-person
So
community.
give us an idea of kind of behind the scenes. Are you managing all of these groups and everything yourself? How are you orchestrating that?
It's a good question. Um, with the private practice, I have 4 other coaches that do work for me, but I also see a full caseload of clients. I do run the Boulder Social Bloom group, but then I have some other coaches that also help with the Love Bloom events, and a different coach that will run the Denver group, because I can't spread myself too thin.
Right.
I want to be present for my clients.
Amazing. So you have a team that's helping kind of
Yes,
grow and positioning you for that.
exactly.
Um, and what does, well, I want to back up before I ask that question. What are the age range of your clientele? I mean, can this be kind of any age, or is it more specific
Um,
to adults?
for the one-on-one coaching, we start with 13 and up.
Mhm.
Some of my coaches see some of our younger clients. I personally see 16 and up. Um, and then it's, and like I said, and up, because we see people that are teens and young adults that are, first getting out into the world and having their own struggles with executive function. But then we also see plenty of adults that this wasn't really anything ever taught in schools.
Right.
So they grew up without getting these skills. And if they don't come naturally to you, it's hard to just, become an expert in them, or even find a lot of these skills manageable for your life. So that's what we're here to do, is teach adults who never got this type of lesson before, and really help them to implement it. For the Love Bloom and the Social Bloom, those are 18 and up,
Sure.
just because there needs to be some sort of like independence for those types of programs.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm wondering about, you said that 1 in 5 um, people have some sort of neurodivergent, maybe trait or diagnosis or
Yep.
something like that. It makes me think that, and with what you were just saying, um, that especially for people maybe my age, our age, and a little bit older, there wasn't a lot of diagnosing happening. So I
There
think,
wasn't at all. And that actually is one of the things that really inspired me to get into this field. As uh, growing up, my brother had pretty severe learning differences, and my mom really fought tooth and nail to get him some accommodations for those things when they weren't very recognized the way they are today. And it was really challenging for him. And I remember that so clearly, and what a challenge it was for both my brother and my mom, like trying to, advocate for him. And so I want to be someone that can help in that way.
yeah. And would you say your brother's kind of been an inspiration for you in this work?
Yeah, I mean, his whole journey for sure. And my mom really, e- just as much, if not more so, because she was the one who really advocated really strongly for him to get him the help that he needed.
Hmm. And for for somebody to be able to take advantage of what you're offering, does there need to be a diagnosis?
No, definitely not. I mean, to get it's tricky to come and see me there. I don't require any formal diagnosis. I mean, most people at this point in their lives have some awareness if they're having some struggles with time management and procrastination, or if they have trouble with like a very furious temper or something. They know that about themselves. So I don't need a diagnosis for someone to come to me. However, some people will need to get a diagnosis to qualify for more state funding or government services. So in that sense, yeah. But since I'm in private practice, I don't require anything like that. And sometimes just I'm not a diagnostician and I don't claim to be, but I can help people figure out if they want to take the route of getting a formal diagnosis through like a neuropsychological exam and testing or not.
Right. And you kind of touched on it there. I wanted to hear a little bit about, what are some of the maybe behaviors or patterns that people come to you to get help with. You were talking about time management, and
Yes.
so I
Lots
wanted
of
to hear a
different
little
things.
bit. I wanted to hear a little bit specifically, so that I myself and our audience can hear what might you be able to help with specifically if they don't necessarily feel like, well, maybe I'm not neurodivergent, but you know,
Sure.
since
Yeah, I mean, it's such a wide range. People come to me with help for everything from like time management and procrastination to emotional regulation, like I was saying before, but also for things like building social skills, um, becoming just more organized in either your professional, student, home life, whatever it is. Um, Being able to create systems and strategies for things that feel overwhelming. Really, like I would say the best way to describe it is anything that feels overwhelming in your life, whether that's always being late to things or not being able to keep track of your banking or your budgeting, or things that are you're acting on impulse, like flying off the handle about something, or overeating, or even substance abuse. Things that feel unmanageable and overwhelming. That's the areas where I can help to figure out strategies and habits to make those things feel more manageable.
awesome. Yeah, thank you for the explanation. I think that
Yeah,
helps
cool.
me understand where, and maybe for our audience too, where they could lean in if they're
Yeah.
resonating with any of those things. Um, so your you're growing, it sounds like. You're
Hmm.
adding to the offerings that you're providing for your community, and you have an interest in bringing this to more states than just Colorado.
Yes.
Where, or maybe the better question is, uh, what's your plan for that? What's it going to take to get you out?
Sure. I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself. Right now, I'm in Boulder and we're expanding into Denver Q1 of this year. Um, the next obvious choice for me, just because I still have so many roots back in New York, is to bring it to New York. And so I kind of haven't set my sights beyond that, but my goal is to try and bring this to New York by about spring or summer, probably summer if I'm being realistic, of 2026. At least bring the social bloom and the love bloom programs there to help with friendships and dating and socialization.
And is this something that's kind of turning into a methodology, or what's that, do you understand the question, I guess?
Yeah, I do. I do. I think I do. I'll answer it. And if I don't answer correctly, then I guess I didn't. So yes, I have very structured curriculums for both of these programs, and we really follow them. And the especially in the social bloom, because it's a 13-week program, the group members have a lot of say in what activities they do and their participation, but there is a very specific curriculum that we follow as far as how we help people start to grow relationships.
Mhm.
And so we stick to that curriculum. And I can say that I know the curriculum works successfully because I'm starting my fifth group in Boulder. And so we've been following the same curriculum with different people here, and it's been going well. So yes, and same with Love Bloom. Like we start the evening with some coaching, some group coaching just around what speed dating looks like and how to be your best self in that environment, because a lot of people get nervous about it
Sure.
naturally. Um, and then also we follow a curriculum there of like the coaching part first and then how the speed dating works and things like that.
So are there sites on, or maybe this exists already, um, like a certification for a social bloom practitioner? Is it kind of that direction, or what do you think?
Mm, not so far, because right now, because I have multiple coaches that work for me and I run the Boulder group, the Denver group will be run by one of the coaches that already works for me that also does executive functioning coaching. So, and I don't know. I mean, that's a good business idea, but I don't know. I think I like to, because I haven't really thought beyond expanding beyond New York, which maybe one day we will, but because I have this curriculum at this point, I feel like I'm able to teach whoever I hire as the coach the curriculum and then they can follow it.
All right, so they kind of come under the umbrella of
Yeah,
Triwell for now.
definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
amazing. Um, Aside from, growing out into multiple states and those programs expanding, any other sites or goals on the horizon for where you want Try Wellness and your impact to go?
Um, well, the only other thing I would add is that, you know, like so many things in our world, there's a discrepancy of the care and treatment you can get for those that are more endowed with money than others, than those that aren't. And so, one thing I would like to do, and that I'm definitely working towards, is being able to ultimately, at least like for one or two participants in each group, have a scholarship fund or something, so that we can we've priced these things as it is to try and make them accessible, but even with that, for some people they still aren't. So ultimately that is a definite goal.
Yeah, having a scholarship base, amazing, amazing. If people are interested, if anybody in the audience is interested in following up with you, maybe there's something that's resonated with them, and they're curious about your services, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Sure. The best way is definitely my website. It's lisashanken.com, and that's LISASHANKEN.com. There's multiple ways to reach out. You can set up a free consultation with me on there. You can send me an email if you just have some questions. So yeah, I'm pretty accessible, and I'm pretty quick at responding too. So that's the best way.
Great. So if anybody listening has been inspired or curious, or they feel like, oh, I might be able to use a little bit of support with some of those things like time management, definitely reach out to Lisa.
Thank you.
Lisa, I'd love to hear any kind of closing thoughts as far as maybe a word of inspiration or a message to the audience, anybody who's listening today.
Yes, sure. I would say what I want people to know is that you can do hard things. You just don't have to do them all at once.
Mm.
Everyone's capable of doing hard things, but it's about breaking them down and maybe slowing it down to accomplish those hard things.
Beautiful reminder. And I think one that I needed to hear myself. And I love that, I've been doing the cold plunge. I've got a friend that's gotten me into this.
I'm very into it too.
We've got a friend that she has a breathwork cold plunge sauna studio just down the street, and she's always like, come get in the water, come get in the water. And it's amazing because I tell myself every time, I always tell myself, do hard things, do hard things. That's, I know that it's good for me. And so I really I resonate with that one. And knowing that I don't have to do it all at once.
Exactly.
In fact, we're not going to do them all at once.
Right. And you're usually more successful when you take it one step at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. Lisa, I want to say thank you so much. We will link your website in the details of the episode below. So I hope that anybody who's interested reaches you. And I really appreciate your time. The work that you're doing is incredibly valuable. And I know that you're having a great impact on many lives out there.
Thank you so much, Brandon. I really appreciate you having me.
And thank you to everybody who's been tuned in. This is another episode of the Conscious Solutions Podcast. Every conversation reminds us that systems of care are only as strong as the people within them. If today's episode resonated, please share it forward. I'm your host, Brandon Barclay. Stay present, stay curious, and keep building with heart. Thanks for listening to the Conscious Solutions Podcast and for being part of a movement that supports the people who support the people. If today's conversation inspired you, share it forward, follow the show, and stay connected for upcoming episodes. And if you're a founder, a practitioner, or an organization doing meaningful work in the healing or wellness space, or you're looking for support in building systems that help your mission grow, reach out. I'd love to hear your story and explore what's possible. Until next time, stay curious and keep building with heart.